This is the Nissan Z, not the 240, not the 280, not the 350, not the 370. The numbers are gone, just the last letter of the English alphabet. It's new for 2023. Big increase in horsepower, big increase in styling, but quite a bit underneath is very similar to the long-in-the-tooth 370 predecessor. I'll explain. Get in. It's time for Family Wheels. The main attraction for me is the looks. Just the exact right amount of cues back to the history of the Z. The front end, it's a very sort of 240, 280. At the rear, we have some sort of 300 hints with the horizontal lights. And throughout, you just get that overall Z vibe without, and this is important, and without it looking comical or too obvious a throwback to the earlier vehicles. That's quite a subtle achievement in design, and they've really nailed it with this car. It's absolutely gorgeous. After the drop-dead good looks of the exterior of this car, the other main attraction is the engine. A twin-turbo V6 that is borrowed from Nissan's Infiniti luxury division, and in this instance it puts out 400 horsepower, and that's certainly plenty. And it makes a good sound while doing it. Well, let's go up one of Vancouver's steepest hills and see what the pep is like. Now, in second gear on a hill, the rear end does want to break away just a little bit. Nothing panic-inducing. In my experience, this 400 horsepower rear-wheel drive sports car was not particularly happy on the wet streets of Vancouver. It was a handful, and traction control intervened aggressively. It is thirsty, using more than 13 liters of fuel for every 100 kilometers traveled, and that really is quite a lot. In fact, it's a liter and change, less than 2 liters less than the fuel consumption of the mighty GTR. Here in the Performance Edition, we have wide tires, 255s at the front, 275s at the rear, and of course tires are pretty much the most important component in handling. So let's take it through this on-ramp. Neutral to slight understeer, back off the gas just to see what happens. Oh, very well behaved. Until you punch it, and then the back end wants to come out. So the bigger tires, the bigger brakes, those are, to me, the key elements of the performance package. You also get a limited slip differential. The trim below this, the more basic trim, I believe it's 245s all around, and I have no idea why you would want that on a 400 horsepower rear-wheel drive car. I was able to kick the tail out on this thing with the 275s at the rear. Maybe the 245 package with the smaller diameter rim is for guys who want to put on a set of fancy rims and much bigger tires and really don't care that much that they've got 245s to start with. The Nissan Z looks radically different from its predecessor, but guess what? We've got the same chassis underneath. The hard points are all the same. There have been a few tweaks here and there, but basically it's the old chassis. This is one of my favorite roads to check out the noise factor inside the car, because there's a lot of pebbling and patching and seams. The Z seems to have a fair bit of road noise transmitted into the cabin. Now, it's great that the Z comes with either a manual 6-speed or an automatic 9-speed transmission. Your choice, no extra charge either way. But I do have a gripe with reverse. It is over and down to the right, and that means you have to go way down like that. And in fact, the shift position here in the center, which usually people who are used to driving stick never look at something like that, I look at that all the time to make sure that R is engaged, because it is really easy to not get it into reverse and you actually put it in 6th. Otherwise, shifting in the Z is very nice indeed. 6-speed, good feel through all the gates. There's decent room in the cabin for driver and passenger, but boy, is it dark in here. Basically everything is black. There's no contrasting stitching, no contrasting panels. The seats are comfortable, however, I do have an objection, and that is the seat cushion, or the seat pan as some people call it. It's just too short. The Nismo edition will have Recaro seats, and boy, that'd be the ones to get, even if you didn't have the extra horsepower. The rest of the seat is fine, by the way. The lumbar support here, the thigh support, all excellent. The power adjustments are only for forward and aft and rake of the seat back. There are manual adjustments for lumbar here, as well as seat height and the cushion at the front, maybe tilting it up a little more. It seems a bit basic. Now, Nissan has taken this new version of the Z and thrown its current electronic wizardry into it. The entire gauge cluster here is fully digital, and over here we have, to anybody who's driven a Nissan, a very familiar infotainment cluster that's all right up to date. On the other hand, I'm not particularly thrilled about the 3 climate control dials and switches down here. I think they could be a little more prominent. I don't know that I would want to take all that long a trip. There's only 6 cubic feet of space. Inside the cabin, we do have a decent amount of room. There's a shelf back here, and there's one quite small bin. At what's supposed to be a higher trim level, I would expect more features in the Z. There's no wireless charging pad here. There's no wireless Apple CarPlay or wireless Android Auto. There's a Bose speaker system at this higher trim level, but it's just an 8-speaker system. Mind you, it does sound pretty good. There's no head-up display here, and that seems to be an omission. These switches here, these are for the seat heat, and to me they look like they're straight out of a Versa. It's either high or low. Although the Z is unchanged for 2024, its price is not. In Canada, the Performance Edition we have here is $3,500 more. The lower spec Sport Edition, $4,500 more. Well, there you have it, the Nissan Z. Is it the sports car for you? Leave a comment. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for liking, and thanks for subscribing. I'm Richard Detman, and I'll see you next time on Family Wheels.